and the Royals. Pete had a great guest on last hour, Scott Fawn from the Missouri Times, who gave some insight into the mechanics of why this delay took place and why everything's going on here at the last minute. I have one of the all-time best, tastiest, yummiest letters ever from a listener who I can't tell whether he's trying to be funny or whether he's really mad at me. I'll let you decide when we read a little bit later in the show. We'll remember Kit Bond, one of the greatest ever in the state of Missouri. The FBI is coming to Kansas City in a way that they are not coming to most communities around America, and Mayor Quentin Lucas has some thoughts on that. And the Chiefs' schedule is leaked by Travis Kelce on his podcast. We used to get the Chiefs' schedule early at 8:10 when we were the official broadcast partner, whatever, the Chiefs. They'd send it over early and say, you can't do anything with it, but here it is, so you can get ready with social media and all this other stuff. We're like, but you sent it to us. Oh, it's embargoed until 7 o'clock. Apparently that doesn't apply to Travis Kelce. He gets to do whatever he wants. No embargo for Travis. Is that right?
Yeah, he's got his own priorities, I guess.
He canceled Kelce Jam too? Is that right?
Yeah, it looks like he's just focusing on football.
I like that. He can have it next year after he retires.
Exactly right.
Yeah. Absolutely have that. We start today with what the heck is going on in the state of Missouri. We know no matter what happens, the offer isn't as good. And my whole monologue today, until I heard Pete's guest today, was simply asking a question. Why did they wait until the end? Because here's all the reporting around the state of Missouri. One story calls it a last-minute attempt to keep the Royals and or Chiefs. Another story says, how does Missouri have a fast-tracked plan in place now? Fast-track, last minute, you get the tone of what's going on in the state of Missouri. The deadline is 6 o'clock Friday. Legislative session ends. It's over. There's nothing they can do. It'd be another year, right? We're just on a delay. Folks, this has been going on for 3 years. And I hate to say it, but Missouri couldn't say louder, we don't care if they leave. That's exactly what they're saying. We don't care. So Scott Fawn is on it. He was great. I mean, this is a great guest. If you didn't hear it with Pete earlier today, go to the podcast page and give it a listen. He's with the Missouri Times. He says Mike Kehoe is a winner, the new governor. And here's the problem. The winner, Mike Kehoe may be a winner, but he was dealt a losing hand because Governor Parson didn't care. Governor Parson didn't do anything for the Royals or Chiefs. He just wanted out of office with no loss on his record. These people aren't stupid. They know the offer in Kansas, and they know how good it is, and they know how politically deflating it is to try to top what Kansas is doing. Jackson County voted no in an overwhelming way. There are all corners. We've talked about the passing of Kit Bond. Now he covered all 6 areas of Missouri and knew them all inside and out. Well, most of those areas don't want to give money to the Royals and Chiefs. At the state level, this is unpopular. And I hadn't really thought of it. I'm like, okay, why are they coming in here now at the last minute with $300 million for the Royals if Clay County passes a vote and comes up with theoretically the same amount is what we're talking. They're basically saying, hey, you match us. A local government agency, whether that's a city, a county, whatever it may be, you got to come up with money too. That's going to require some sort of vote in Clay County. They can't just write the checks to the Royals to get them there. This has just been the most strange thing in the state of Missouri ever. Clearly, people in Jackson County are worried about their property taxes more than the Royals or the Chiefs. The other thing that's important for Missouri citizens, and maybe you don't care about this issue at all, I think this is important. You're not losing your team if they move to Kansas. They talk about the economic impact of these teams in our community. Most economic studies are regardless of state line. It's the impact of having these sports teams. How many people drive down from Des Moines for the weekend and go to a Royals Cardinals? How many people do that? And where they spend their money is very hard to track. We know it brings tens of thousands of people. Over the course of the proper month, it's tens of thousands of people could come to Kansas City for sporting events between the Royals and the Chiefs. Does it really matter if they stay in Kansas or Missouri? You'd like them to, but you've carried the tax burden forever. You've let the stadiums become antiquated. The teams have not been able to develop anything in the area they are, and for 50-some years, you've never provided a better landing spot. This happened with Kansas Speedway. This happened with Sporting Kansas City. Missouri came up with nothing. The counties, the cities, and the states couldn't find a winning solution. Where was the best place for Kansas Speedway? In the beginning, NASCAR thought it was near the airport. They're like, look at all this land up north. Let's build a big speedway out here all by itself, close to the airport. The drivers, they all fly in on their private jets. It's right here. It's convenient. If you ever watch Daytona 500, the jets land right there at the speedway. They have their own airport. That's the way NASCAR likes to roll. They initially thought that. Well, they couldn't come together with anything. They couldn't get the county on board, the city, the state, nothing. NASCAR winds up in Kansas. You can debate whether or not Missouri misses it or not. I don't think they do. If you live in Missouri and you're a NASCAR fan, you still have the benefit of being able to go to the track. And if you live in Missouri and the Chiefs are over in Kansas, you still have the ability to go to a game. There's still the Kansas City Chiefs. Your city has always had the name of this other state on it anyway. We got to put down this border difference crap, okay? Let it go. Missouri is last gasping for breath here. And as Scott Fawn described it to Pete Mundo, he said Governor Kehoe did this by design. Governor Kehoe wanted to wait until this last week to put this proposal out that we saw yesterday about the incentives up to 50% and what it would mean based on last year's sales tax revenue and blah. It's sort of a complicated formula, but it's there. And he wanted to ram it through the last week of the legislature. Well, why does he want to do that? And I've been asking the question, what's going on? I thought it was incompetence. I thought Missouri doesn't care. People in St. Louis clearly don't care. Representative Jim Murphy from St. Louis Republican says, quote, we've got constituents we have to explain this to, unquote. That's a Republican that sounds like he's voting hell no on the Royals and Chiefs because he lives in St. Louis. They've lost their football team. What does he care about ours? This is state politics. This is how it is. We're in the Doge era. Kansas has a deadline of its own. June 30th, the Star Bonds expire. And guess what? It won't be very popular if they have to extend that per year. That will be a terrible decision by lawmakers to jump on board in that select committee and extend that. People in Kansas will not be for that, extending it. You'd want to vote. You'd want to vote on something like that. So as Scott Fawn explained it, Governor Kehoe did this at the last minute because it sucks. Nobody wants it. It's not popular. In fact, in Fawn's words, he said, the longer this bill is out there for the public to see, the worse it's going to get for the people trying to pass it. Every hour, he said, that goes by, this is less popular in Jefferson City. The Senate yesterday passed on a vote. They just said, no, we're not voting on this. We're not voting on SB 80, which, by the way, is a sports complex authority initiative, convention and sports facilities, and get this, tax credits, certainly, for sporting events. Guess what else is in Senate Bill 80 that they whiffed on yesterday and said we're not voting? NIL, name, image, and likeness money for high school athletes are now attached to things for the Royals and the Chiefs to try to sell it and make it popular in certain places in Missouri. Folks, this is not one big, beautiful bill. That's not what this is. This is not necessary for Missouri. The state of Missouri, honest to God, I know you don't want to hear it, they're not going to miss the Royals and Chiefs. I can make an argument that Kansas is doing the wrong thing, that they're spending money that they shouldn't be spending, but Kansas is getting something new, and they're getting bragging rights, and they want to develop and build more suburbs and more neighborhoods and have more population in the state because Kansas is tiny compared to Missouri. It is a big deal. This is like St. Louis versus Chicago. You know how people from St. Louis always hate Chicago because they're just not quite Chicago? I think the state of Kansas feels that way about Missouri. Missouri's a bigger state. They got more money. They have two major cities. They got all these sports teams. You take a couple of those away, it's a big deal in Kansas. It's a quality of life thing in Kansas, but it doesn't change anything for me. I live in Lenexa. I still go to Royals and Chiefs games. Does it really matter if I drive across the state line to go to a game? Or who collects the sales tax when I buy a ticket or buy a hot dog? What do I care? The answer is we don't. And maybe Missouri should just wave the white flag. Look, I think the best place for the Royals, of all the places I've seen right now, but I don't know where they're looking in Kansas, I think the best place is Clay County. I'd love to see them just across the river from downtown. I would like for the Royals to be there. I think that makes sense with baseball. I think being close to downtown and not in downtown makes a lot of sense. I could see them building kind of a ballparky area down there that's the vibe of that entire neighborhood is sort of baseball and entertainment. I could see that in Clay County. I see that vision. I don't see anything at 167th and 69 Highway. I don't get that in Kansas. And I don't know that they want to be at the Speedway with the Chiefs and NASCAR and minor league baseball and soccer and everything else going on out there. I don't know. Maybe the Royals do. Maybe the Royals and Chiefs will get together and do the same thing they did before. Maybe they'll build stadiums side by side and split an entertainment district. I find that hard to believe, but maybe. If that's where the money is and they find a way to be partners, maybe that's what they've been planning all along and we don't know. But I don't understand this last minute thing because it's so unpopular with the people of Missouri and with the politicians of Missouri that they don't want to touch it, that they're going to push this up against the 6 o'clock Friday deadline and see what happens because they don't want the voters to see this. This is the crap that Democrats do. They hide things from the people. They jam things through at the 23rd hour that Nancy Pelosi famously once said, I haven't read the bill. I don't know what's in it. But she voted for it because it was a Democrat bill, so she just voted for it at the last minute, right before the deadline. Is that really what Missouri should be doing right now? Should the state of Missouri, when they know this is not popular with the people of Missouri, should they be doing something that they don't think is a very good idea just to keep sports teams and have bragging rights? It's not financially great. The teams aren't moving to Nashville. Everybody that lives in Missouri can still go to Chiefs and Royals games. You're only going to be maybe 10 miles, 15 miles farther away. Whatever. Not sure I understand it. And it just feels really last ditch to me. And if I'm the Royals and the Chiefs and I'm looking at them like, oh my God. Look, I think the Royals are holding out hope. They want something desperately from Missouri. They really desperately want something from Missouri. I'm not sure the Chiefs do at this point, but it is absolute desperation. 913-408-7957. That's 408-7957. Our phone lines are open. I'd love to hear from you today on that or any of the topics of the day. We've always got phone lines open for you here at Uncanceled, and we're continuing on KCMO right after this.
You're listening to Kevin Kietzman Uncanceled on KCMO Talk Radio 95.7 FM.
I am uncanceled. It feels great to be uncanceled. It's great to be here with you and great to have you here with us. We appreciate you listening every day and telling your friends all about KCMO Talk Radio and appreciate the outstanding work the team does here. I am but a small part of this operation, but wow, are these guys good at what they do? And it's just fun to be part of. We're glad to be part of the family here at KCMO Talk Radio. Heard a lot of great stories about Christopher Kietzman passing at the age of 86. One of the greatest Missourians of all time. I think that's easy to say. And he was very well known for building bridges and roads and infrastructure and getting projects in Missouri and levees and dams and rivers and all kinds of cool stuff. Kietzman was Missouri through and through. And we've heard people say he could drink scotch with fancy businessmen or drink, Busch Lights at the auto plant after the shift's done working. I got an email from a listener yesterday that said a long time ago, he was at the Lake of the Ozarks. There is nothing more Missouri than this story. He was at the Lake of the Ozarks, one of those barbecue shacks on the side of the road, of which Kansas City barbecue's awesome, but there's just something really funky about some of the barbecue shacks around the lake that you can't really emulate anywhere else. And Kit Bond walks in, and he's wearing a suit. So he'd clearly been to something sort of fancy where he had to speak or something. And the guy says he's all alone, which is kind of weird, and he's walking in a suit. Or maybe he's eating before he goes to something that night. I don't know which. Said he walked in, sat at a table alone, ordered a full slab of ribs, down the entire thing, and walked out and waved to people as he's walking out. That's the most Missouri thing ever. Wearing your suit to whatever it is that he had to do, pounding that slab of ribs at the Lake of the Ozarks. He was a great man. Really, really, really great for the state of Missouri. All right, the phones we go. Today we start with Mark up first in Shawnee. Good, you're on Uncanceled. How's your day going?
Good morning, Kevin. It's I'm looking at 3 feet of grass out here on my own property. I can mow everybody else's, but I can't do my own. So I'm going to get after it here pretty quick. But I caught the tail end of your subject and matter, and it's real frustrating to me because it's typical government involvement in things that were left to a private enterprise. It'd be real obvious what happens with the Chiefs and the Royals. They would plant them right out at the Legends. That to me is what should happen. But I think about the Blue Room, that they pushed that Blue Room down there. Now I have no idea how it's doing now, but I remember I had a guy who was very involved in that. The Blue Room wasn't making any money. They couldn't find the people there to run it the way it should be run. So the government had to prop it up and dump government funds into it. So here we have the same thing. We've got all this money. We got this great location out here. It's time for Missouri to let that go, put it out here where the people are at, where the money's at, where it's growing, and really create something special. That's my opinion.
I think I'm with you. I still would like to see the Royals somewhere where there is density. I think baseball is better suited there than in the suburbs or in an open area. But if this is all part of one area, if you have Major League Baseball, the NFL, NASCAR, Major League Soccer, minor league baseball, all the shopping, all the entertainment, Margaritaville Resort, maybe build a golf course and another big hotel, you've got an awful lot of stuff in one place, which would really be cool. It would absolutely be a destination, and people, I think, would come from all over the Midwest just to go there and stay there. I think the hotels that would pop up there would be insane.
I agree. You look at the development, how it's gone out there, it's beating like come here, we're ready, and it's we're going to keep it here because that's how it is and that's how we're going to do it. Again, it's just typical government. If you let private enterprise take over, and how that would all facilitate just what you said, the growth spurts that would happen, it'd be mega MAGA. It would be
mega MAGA.
Really special.
I like that. Good call, buddy. Thank you, Mark. I appreciate that. It would be, and I haven't really thought about it in this way. I think we talked about this a couple of months ago. We have, depending on how you look at it, a 5 or 6 county area here. And if we forget there's a state line and say this whole community, all of us, we're just one city, like Columbia, Missouri, or Wichita. Everything's right in one state. If that's what we were, what would be the best thing for our city? Well, the best thing for our city would be to have an awesome tourist destination, a place where everybody would want to go in the Midwest. And that would be both teams out there now at this point. When you combine it with NASCAR, they all work together. Major League Soccer, it's all there in one place. It could be, I mean, if you think that thing is big and doing well now, You put the Royals and the Chiefs there, I can't even imagine the development and what it would mean for this city. The American Royals building a facility out there. It's a financial boondoggle at this point, but they're building and they're going there too. So, I don't have all the answers. I'm just simply saying if we put aside the state line, what's the best for Kansas City, having everything in one destination location would be kind of cool. We'd have something very unique that other cities don't have. We would literally have a tourism destination, one spot where everybody goes. Now, if you live in Missouri and that sounds like that stinks because that's the state of Kansas, you know what? I can't tell you how many times I've been to the St. Louis Arch. There's all kinds of tourist destinations in Missouri. The Lake of the Ozarks, Springfield, Branson. There's a lot of tourism in Missouri that Kansas doesn't have. And for our city, it would probably be best for it all just kind of to be in one place. That's not me rooting for that. I still have this fondness. I like the North Kansas City area for the Royals. I have from the start. For 2.5 years, I've said all the places I drove by and looked at, to me, that's the one. That's the place that makes most sense. It looks like it would be fun there to park far away, whatever, walk around, spend a day, spend an evening, and do all the things around a ballpark just across the river in the Northland. I think it sounds terrific. All right, we come back. The FBI is coming to Kansas City in bigger numbers. Why here and not there? I'll explain next on KCMO Talk Radio's Uncanceled.
Whether you're a Jayhawk, Wildcat, Tiger, or KC Roo, we won't cancel you. Kevin Kietzman, Uncanceled, on KCMO Talk Radio 95.7 FM.
That's got a song that gets you going, makes you want to run through a brick wall. Hope you're feeling great on this Wednesday. Thanks for being with us on Uncanceled. So the Kash Patel and the FBI are sending agents from Washington, D.C. to Kansas City. They're outsourcing a lot of these agents. Their goal was to get rid of a whole bunch of people that live and work in Washington, D.C. and get them the hell out of there and send them out into the country and do the work there instead of being deep state operatives in the swamp of D.C. It is a great plan. I think we're all on board with that plan. But we find it interesting that they're sending 33 FBI agents to Kansas City, 33, 1 to Jefferson City, 1 to Wichita, and 1 to Topeka. Why do I think that's funny? I shouldn't be laughing. It's not funny. Springfield gets 2, so I don't know what's going on down there. But listen, these are federal agents. The other thing we do in Kansas City immediately, you want to talk about stereotypes and being insulting, okay? Here's the stereotype. The second this is announced, everybody's like, oh, that's Kansas City, Missouri's problem. They got a problem. They need 33 FBI agents in Kansas City, Missouri. And the mayor comes out. Oh, we'll take all the help we can get, but we really want them to work on cold cases and analytics. We need some analysts here. We don't really need the FBI as you think about the FBI. We need some nerds with some 3-inch thick glasses, uncombed hair and stains on their shirt, staring at a computer screen, trying to solve some cold cases from 20 years ago. That's what Mayor Q wants. Here's the stereotype. These are the feds. Do you know how many drugs from Mexico, the Mexico border, are rolling up I-35 in Kansas every single day and into Kansas City, Missouri, and up into Iowa or Nebraska or wherever they're going, or taking a left and heading to Denver or, I don't know, St. Louis? You know what kind of crime we have in other places around here other than Kansas City, Missouri that the FBI should be in on, that ICE should be in on, that Homeland Security should be in on? It's massive. We may not see it in local crime, okay? We may not see it in gang members at a Chiefs parade shooting at each other that are 14 years old. You may not see that in Leawood very often, if ever. But there's plenty for the FBI in this city of 2.5 million people, and not just Kansas City, Missouri. But this is what we do. It's like, 33 agents are coming. They're coming to help Mayor Q. Well, they've done this before. They had that Operation Legend when Trump was president before, and it was specifically targeting the murder rate and the crime rate in Kansas City, Missouri. But they have not really said that here. They've said they're sending them to Kansas City. We all just assume it's all about Kansas City, Missouri. Well, if you're sending us 33 agents to Kansas City, I don't want 33 pencil pushers sitting in front of a computer that never leave the office. All right, let's get some people on the streets. Let's get some door knockers, some dudes in a black sedan that walk up with their sunglasses on and come to your front door and start to question what the heck's going on there. I'm for those guys. I'm for some of that. And that's not what Mayor Q wants. Mayor Q doesn't want it all. And the Kansas City, Missouri Police Department, what was their statement after Mayor Q came out and said, we want to work on cold cases and analytics? The Kansas City, Missouri Police Department put out a statement and said, quote, there is no backlog of evidence processing in the Kansas City, Missouri Police Department. Police department said, we don't need office help. We've got all that we can stand. We need strong, tough cops out on the street doing the job to get these ATVs off the street and the street racing and the crime rate and the murders. And we need strong prosecutors to lock these people up and not let them out to commit more offenses. That's what Kansas City Police Department needs. They need more tough people. They don't need more people sitting in front of computers. And they've stated that. Now, maybe that's what the FBI is sending, but that's not what I'd send to Kansas City. And if you're sending one person to Jeff City, one person to Wichita, and one to Topeka, that sounds like somebody that maybe is going and helping with some analytics and doing some high-level, smart computer work on analyzing crime and statistics and data and getting it to the feds from local authorities. That sounds like a liaison. 33 in Kansas City sounds like some dudes are going to have some heavy weapons. Just me. That's not a giant number, but if you're sending them all over the country, Trust me, there's plenty of tough guys in D.C. with guns that have been banging on doors. We saw them. They went after all of Trump's colleagues. As soon as Trump was out of office, they went after all of them. They banged their doors in with battering rams at 5 a.m., tipping CNN so it could be live on the news. And off goes Roger Stone and Peter Navarro and Steve Bannon. Oh, they went and got all of those people. That's some tough work, man. Probably don't need as many people going after frail little Peter Navarro as we do hardened criminals in the Kansas City area. Let's find them, let's bust them, and let's do something real about it. That's what I'm for. I got one of the tastiest letters ever from a listener. This is, I didn't know what to make of this. I showed it to Mark. I showed it to John. I'm like, they both read it and didn't get it. The first time I read it, I didn't get it, and I'm the dang host of the show. But I'm like a cornerback in the NFL. I can't tell you about yesterday's show, and I don't know anything about tomorrow's show. I just know today's. That's it. I don't remember a lot of stuff in the past. The shows come and go, and I don't. I'm not great at that. I think it's actually a strength in this, but in the rest of my life, it's a horrible blind spot and a weakness. My wife will tell you so. I'm an in-the-moment guy. So I get an envelope, a letter envelope. Like it's a letter. Oh, I got a nice letter to Kevin Kietzman, Keetsman, from Greg in Overland Park. And I open it up, and there's an envelope in it. He's got nice handwriting, Kevin. And it's a beautiful card. It's got the American flag on it and nothing else. It's just gorgeous. Beautiful card. And I open it, and he writes, Kevin, using the name of the brothers Van Halen to identify some godless globalist pinko commie who's in love with some MS-13 criminal is rock and roll sacrilege. Please cease and desist. And I had to think about that. I got in trouble on my podcast a couple of years ago, and this may outrage you. I may have gotten more emails about this than anything I've ever said on my podcast. When David Lee Roth left Van Halen, it was over for me. Uh-oh, Mark didn't like that at all. John's with me? John's with me.
I have no preference.
No preference? Are you kidding me?
I don't have any preference on that.
Van Hagar sucked. It just did. And I like Sammy Hagar, but that's not his band. It's David Lee Roth or bust. So I got in all kinds of trouble with my listeners on that when they were mad. So I don't know what, I'm like, oh, is this about that? I'm like, oh, yes. This Senator Van Hollen that went to El Salvador to see Kilmore. I called the thug Kilmore, and I called Van Hollen Van Halen. I called him Senator Van Halen because I didn't want to give him the dignity of you learning his name, which is the only reason he went, is he wanted people to know his name. So I made a ruse out of the thing and called him Senator Van Halen. And I honestly don't know if Greg is making a joke here or if he's very serious. Either one is fine with me. If he's serious, Greg, I just want you to know I was doing it as a joke. It was not a shot at Van Halen in any way. I understand the love for your band. I just didn't want people to know what that senator's name really was. It's like a lot of times people commit crimes and do things, and I won't mention their name. Like, don't give that person the time of day. Don't remember the name of the trans mass killer in Nashville. Don't remember that name. Let's not make them famous. That's a bad plan. And I don't know that it leads to more crime or people doing things because they're famous when they do these things, but it certainly can't help. Making them famous cannot help. Not help. We still have a culture that's infatuated with criminals. There cannot be enough documentaries on Jeffrey Dahmer and Timothy McVeigh and all these people that are so famous, I have no problem mentioning them. They're dead and gone, and it's over. But we make huge celebrities out of them, and it can't be great for deranged people to see, wow, those people got famous on their way out. They took a whole bunch of people with them and put body parts in freezers and did all this stuff. Why do we have, like, the most popular podcasts in America are crime podcasts? It isn't close. It's not sports. It's not politics. It isn't close. It's crime. It's the sickness of people. We've got a whole bunch of Americans that are enthralled by the sickness of others, and they want to learn more about why human beings can be so deranged and so sick. Well, that's not this senator, but clearly he was trying to get his name out there and separate himself from the rest of his party and elevate himself. So I called him Senator Van Halen. Greg, I don't know. If you want to send me another letter, Greg, or ever call the show, I will assume that you're serious on this, but if you were joking, that's pretty funny too. I'll take it either way. I'll stop calling him Senator Van Hollen because he's now out of the news, or Van Halen because he's out of the news. He's gone. It's over with Senator Van Halen. He had his less than 15 minutes of fame, and that truly what it was. Jeff Collier was on with Pete Mundo earlier today. He's a good man, was the 47th governor of Kansas for several months as he took over, and then lost a very close race. I think he'd be a great governor for Kansas. It's not an endorsement. I don't know who else is running. I know Governor Collier a little bit. I like him a lot. He's a very compassionate man who has done, as a surgeon and as a doctor, he has helped thousands of people all over the world. All right, this is the kind of person that I can, it's easy for me, not all of you, but most of you, he's better than us. He's done things for other people that we haven't done. Those are great people. They're great people. And when you have that as your life's commitment, which a lot of doctors do, that's why they become doctors, and yet you've traveled the world and you've done all the things in poor countries and helped people for no money, you've just done it. When you begin to do those things and see all that, you're an exceptional person. A lot better than me. I'm just a pod boy with a microphone. That's it, right? So there's something there. And when he says he wants to run for governor and he wants to benefit the people of Kansas, you kind of got to believe that, don't you? Don't you have to think of Jeff Collier and say he's committed his life to other people? That's really why he's doing it, that he's not doing it to be famous. He's like friends with Andy Reid, right? Andy Reid did some fundraisers for him the last time he ran and things like that. Well, I don't see him trotting Andy Reid out or he's on with Pete Mundo saying, I'm going to run for governor. He's not doing some photo op with Andy Reid going, hey, it's my buddy Andy Reid. I'm running for governor. Now, maybe that comes during the campaign. I don't know. But I think he's a man with a big heart. He's kind. He's very smart. And Kansas, if you told me Kansas was led for a full term, can he do 2 terms? Because he hasn't been elected, right? So he could theoretically do 8 years?
Yeah.
If you told me Jeff Collier was governor for 8 years, I'll tell you great things are going to happen in Kansas. A lot better than what's her name. See, I'm not giving her name either. I don't like her. All I know is I booed her at the Chiefs rally. Right in front of me. Governor, what's her name? Yeah, Governor, what's her name? She comes down like, why is she here in Kansas City, Missouri? Why does the Democrat governor of Kansas have a float in the parade in front of hundreds of thousands of Republicans lining the streets? Which is what it was. If you had a vote between Trump and Harris on the streets at a Chiefs parade, Trump would get over 90%. There's no question. No question. Here she comes. And she comes, I'm like, boo! I let her have it. She wasn't 15 feet away. And she turned and she waved like it was some compliment. And I pointed at her. I'm like, no, boo, boo, boo. I let her have it. She didn't care. She was in the Chiefs parade. She got all the perks of being governor of Kansas. She gets to go in the suite and gets to go to the World Cup. And she gets to go to the casino and bet on the Chiefs. Like she's the only person that does that. Wow, what a lame, weak, hollow politician she is. Truly. So yeah, Jeff Collier, be an amazing upgrade. We will take that in Kansas every single time. All right, we're due for a break. We come back. Mark and I are going to talk a little bit about Travis Kelce busting out the Chiefs schedule on his podcast. And Pete Rose, I think he's finally going to make the Hall of Fame. It is next on Uncanceled. All right, Best Offer KC is a wonderful company in Kansas City that is helping people when they need to move. When something happens, whether it's something really serious like a tragedy or something personal like a divorce or maybe a sick relative out of town where you have to go and care for them somewhere in another state and you need to sell your house fast, bestofferkc.com is here for you. Here's the best thing about Best Offer. They don't pressure anybody to sell. If you call and they're not the right fit, it's no big deal. You're going to be able to walk away knowing your options, and that's rare. Well, they're the only one in this industry that does it, but it's rare in the industry, period. Like every realtor that ever lived, they just want to get the listing and try to make their commission. Best Offer KC does not work that way. If they see your situation and say, you know what, you've got a little time on your hands, you might be able to make more money if you sold this yourself, they will tell you that. Who does that? They're glad to buy it off you and give you an offer, but if that isn't the right offer, they're going to educate you on that. I got an email from somebody who spent 2 hours with one of the representatives from Best Offer KC, and they didn't sign a contract with Best Offer KC. After the consultation, they're like, there's a better way for me that I can get more money out of my house and do this fairly quickly. Nobody else in town will do that. BestOfferKC.com, honestly, can just be trusted because they're honest. They're helping you leave the hassle behind. So log on to BestOfferKC.com or call 816-338-SOLD. That's 338-SOLD for BestOfferKC.com, helping you leave the hassle behind.
Kevin Kietzman, Uncanceled. 10 to 11 a.m. on 95.7 FM, KCMO Talk Radio.
All right, you heard it here earlier today. Mark Van Sickle letting everybody know that Travis Kelce has informed the world of the Chiefs' schedule as we were back on Uncanceled on KCMO Talk Radio. So what exactly did Travis Kelce do? And he can't get in any trouble for this, right?
No, he kind of realized, oh, yeah, this podcast is coming out on Wednesday. I'll just let everybody know what's going on.
So how did it get out if the podcast doesn't come out until Wednesday? Oh, the schedule comes out Wednesday.
Yeah, the schedule comes out tonight. The first game of the season for the Chiefs has kind of been rumored but not yet confirmed, and then Kelce decided to go ahead and confirm it for us.
Okay, the first game of the season is the Chiefs-Chargers in Brazil.
Yep.
On a Friday night. The Eagles will open the season on Thursday. Friday night, the Chiefs will be there. I think this is the second year in a row they've done this. Last year was it the Eagles and Packers?
Yep.
I remember that because I was with John Gillette. I was at dinner with John Gillette from Window World that night.
Oh, nice.
And he was like, oh, football start. Oh, he's so excited. We made a wager that night with my friends at Window World that the Chargers would win more than 6.5 games. He owes me a steak dinner.
Okay.
They were a playoff team.
That's right.
He was down on the Chargers. I'm like, no, they got a coach now. They're going to be good.
Harbaugh's good.
So I'm going to get me a Window World steak dinner here at some point, which is really weird because I work for him. He's a sponsor on my podcast as well. So normally you buy them dinner. So I don't know how that's going to work. Maybe I'll just let him buy me a beer, and we'll figure it out from there. But the Chiefs will play that Friday night game. By all accounts, sounds like it might be on YouTube TV. Should be on local television as well. And then the big news is the Chiefs playing the Cowboys on Thanksgiving Day.
Yeah, it's going to be huge.
Wow. That's how many Chiefs fans do you think will find their way to Dallas for the Chiefs-Cowboys on Thanksgiving Day?
Oh, that's going to be a lot of red there.
It's going to be 20,000 if it's one. It's an easy enough drive. Let's be honest. We all love Thanksgiving as our favorite holiday, but it's the same every year, isn't it?
Yeah, it'll be an excuse to get down to see Jerry's World.
Do something different.
Mm-hmm.
I've already pitched an idea to Miss Jessica. She said it sounded good, but, the closer you get, this is going to involve cutting some people out. We're going to be cutting our parents out and some other stuff so people get cut out. Like maybe we'll just go do our own Thanksgiving. And it sounds great in May, but boy, you get closer to November, I'm not sure it sounds all that great. So the Chiefs are going to be a big deal. Royals lost last night. They can't score and lost 2-1. But the big news in baseball was Rob Manfred, the commissioner of baseball, saying that Pete Rose and Shoeless Joe Jackson, both of whom bet on baseball or did dirty deeds, were banned from the game for life, but they're both dead. And Rob Manfred said, look, they were banned for life. They're dead. They're not banned anymore. So they're now both eligible to be voted on to be in the Hall of Fame. This is cruel and unusual punishment. I'm sorry. Manfred even said it himself. It's hard to conceive of a penalty that has more deterrence than one that lasts a lifetime. But that's where it ends. So the case is going to be if you cheat or you do whatever, not cheating because all the Astros players are still playing. It's not cheating, it's betting. If you bet on baseball, it's a lifetime ban, yet Major League Baseball's maybe biggest business partner out of pharmaceuticals is gambling.
Oh, yeah. This is a good move for baseball to let him in the Hall of Fame, in my opinion.
Well, he's got to get voted in.
That's true. And those people probably don't like him as much.
Exactly. So my thing is, you crazy liberal sports writers that are out there that want to hang on to something that doesn't exist, get over yourself. And if you're going to sit there and vote no on Pete Rose, now that there's no reason to vote no on him, zero, if that's what you're going to do, they should take away your credentials as a baseball writer of America. Get over your pompous self and vote him in. So this is just not up for debate. He's the hits leader. This is a joke.
Yeah, he should get in on first ballot.
Shoeless Joe, probably too. I don't know the history there. There were 15 others who had lifetime bans that are now deceased that are also no longer banned by baseball, but they're not really Hall of Fame caliber players, so that's not really a thing. My favorite baseball story this week, however, Mark, is University of Missouri great Max Scherzer, who's never pitched for the Royals, but he's pitched for every other team in baseball.
Yeah, he makes the rounds.
Pretty good gig if you can get it. I haven't looked up how many teams it is, but it's a lot. You know how much money he's making this year?
I mean, he's a pitcher, so probably pretty high, $50 million.
Yeah. So here's Scherzer's deal. He's injured and not playing. He's on the 60-day injury list. And goodness knows he's not good for a whole season anymore because he's older. He's making $15 million from his old contract from the Nationals. He's making $31 million from his old contract with the Mets. He's making $12.5 million from his old contract with the Texas Rangers, and he's making $15.5 million this year for one season from the Toronto Blue Jays' current team. That's $82 million for one season to not play for any of them.
That's incredible. I thought he was still on the Nationals.
Right? I mean, please tell me he's a business major or accounting or something from the University of Missouri. If he is, name a building after him. Because like even David Glass at Southwest Missouri State, or Missouri State now, he's got the business school named after him. He couldn't have pulled this off. Nobody out thinking Max Scherzer. Way to go. That's Uncanceled. The Vince Show is coming up next on KCMO Talk Radio.